Chapter 19, Sunday, July 23, 13:20 hours. Sun. Luke was aware of its harsh glare even through closed eyes. He could feel the pain of sunburn on his face and arms. But no, that wasn't right. There was supposed to be protection. Something white. A large sheet? A sail? Where was his corner? He spoke to the others. Cover me up. Here. I'm getting fried. Funny. Why couldn't he hear his own voice? Come on, guys. This time he held his hand to his mouth. His lips weren't moving either. His brain was talking, but it didn't seem to be connected to his tongue. He had been in shark bait position for 2, 3, how many days now? He would have loved to stretch out and sleep. Hey, Carla, he tried to say. Your turn. Was she ignoring him? No, his mouth was still not working. He couldn't expect people to read his mind, especially not unconscious people. And they were, all three of them. Will had been first. Even before their second rainstorm, they'd forced water down his throat, but it hadn't revived him. And anyway, Ian and Carla had gone down the very next day. Poor Ian. None of them deserved this, but the little kid was the most innocent of them all, guilty of nothing more than watching too much TV. Now here he lay, with a bird perched on his head. A bird? No, that couldn't be right. Luke's eyes were playing tricks on him again. There were no birds out here in the open ocean. They had to stay within flying range of land. He'd been having a lot of hallucinations, like a couple of hours ago, days ago, when he'd had a very clear memory of restashing that gun in his locker. Crazy. How could he remember what he hadn't seen? Of course he knew it had been Reese, even though the jerk denied it. So Luke's hazy mind had put together what must have happened and constructed a fake memory out of it. It was not very different from Ian's wail, the beginning of the end. It was a terrible end, Luke decided, because your last thought is the one where you realize you're losing your mind. What was this? His body wriggled with revulsion as a long, slimy shape attacked and wrapped itself around his neck. He let go of the raft and tore at it, ripping it to pieces. An eel? The tentacle of a giant squid? Through the fog of his confusion, he struggled to focus on what was in his hands. Seaweed. Another hallucination. There was no seaweed in the open ocean either. Splashing wildly, he managed to regain his grip on the raft. He had no idea why he was struggling so hard to preserve his doomed life a few extra minutes. What was the point? They were all dead, courtesy of Ratface. Ratface. What a waste of a thought when there weren't many thoughts left. Luke forced the mate's picture out of his brain, but its replacement image was too painful. A fleeting glimpse of his parents, who would mourn him. He closed his eyes tightly, but they were still there. Make this stop, he tried to exclaim, and when he opened his eyes again, he saw the fin. Another hallucination? Maybe, but this one struck him right in the ribs. Shark! He tried to sound the warning, but the technical difficulties between his brain and his mouth still existed. The raft bobbed away from the fin. Luke held his breath. The long shape in the water followed. Another bump. Luke braced himself for the ripping, tearing bite that was to come next, but when he looked down, he saw the bottle-nosed snout of a dolphin. This time it nudged the raft, and Luke was pulled along. He remembered somewhere in Ian's rambling lecture stories of dolphins pushing drowning sailors to safety. Surely this was the final hallucination, the last desperate brain impulses of a dying mind. He was amazed at how vivid it was. The white water roaring around him, the pounding of surf, the sudden thump of his dangling feet onto shallow sandy bottom. Instinct took over. Instinct and a frantic desire to die on dry land. Luke pushed the raft with every ounce of strength that remained in his exhausted body, kept on pushing even when the cabin top dug into the beach and would move no more.